Here's Mike Winger giving advice to doubting Christians. But first... Oh, praise Jesus, how long have I been gone? Well, anyway, hello, my name's Reginald Snuggs. Today, I'm going to help you continue to construct your fortress of faith against the wiles of the evil one. The first thing is to not get too worried that a ton of smart people disagree with us.
Yeah, so don't be intimidated because smart people disagree. If every smart person disagrees with you, then that should make you wonder. But yeah, then there's other issues that go on. Knowledge puffs up. Things can cause arrogance. When you feel like you know a lot about something, you can get arrogant and proud.
Don't worry that there's boatloads of peer disagreement on religious topics in general.
Boatloads.
And a lot of peer agreement that things like biblical inerrancy are wrong. We have some smart people on our side, and I can name a couple. Next, always remember that just like every other religion ever, we have a convenient story about why people don't believe. They don't want it to be true.
There are people who have issues that are other than the argumentation, which are causing them to decide for God or against God. And that would be consistent with a relational choice about God. That underneath a lot of our argumentation is ultimately not just a bias, but potentially a relational decision we're making about God. And that's my interpretation of how I would do that. So what I'm saying is this: no matter how smart you are, you're stupid compared to God. And you may be still ultimately finally driven by things other than the intellect, other than the mind, things that relate to the heart. These things may ultimately be deciding where you land on these issues.
This is totally not a belief protection mechanism designed to insulate your faith from the criticism of others. Of course not. No.
Not this time. No, not this time. It's totally made up. Pure fiction. It's fiction.
And I mean, look at me.
Silas, I hope that helps, man. I hope that helps. Let me put it this way to you finally in the end. I think it's ridiculously obvious that God exists. I sincerely believe this. Like, really, I believe it. And it's possible that some of the really smart guys are just really good at talking themselves into believing all kinds of weird things. But it seems obvious that God exists. Painfully obvious.
Look at how confident I am in my beliefs. Look at me. Absorb my confidence into your body. On a slightly more serious note, here's my analysis of some of this. First, it's probably best for Mike to stay in his lane as an internet pastor rather than venturing too far into philosophy, since he completely waffles when talking about Oppy's views and what Christians should take away from them. Joe Schmidt from The Majesty of Reason lit him up for this in a recent video that I'll link in the description, so I'm not going to be focusing as much on that here. Back to the topic of peer disagreement, though. Should the fact that a lot of smart people disagree with you make you question your beliefs? And if so, how much? The frustrating but entirely correct answer is, it depends. Let's take Mike's beliefs about the Bible. Because he ascribes to inerrancy, he inevitably holds to a number of positions that buck against the scholarly consensus in biblical studies. I think a person in this situation should be very worried about whether or not they're rationalizing a bunch of data to fit a theory that they can't let go of. When it comes to the God question, it's a little more complicated. Most philosophers are atheists, but the field of philosophy of religion has more theists. There's a lot of reason to suspect that selection bias is what explains this, rather than that the arguments for theism are actually better, and if you want to know what I mean, see the link in the description. Either way, the fact that there are a lot of very intelligent people who disagree with me on the God question is at least part of the reason I'm not a dogmatic atheist. I could be wrong, even though I don't think I am. Similarly, I think the existence of well-informed, sophisticated atheism should chip away at theists' absolute conviction, and it should be particularly worrying to people who haven't looked at the best of what our side has to offer. I also find it incredible how much solace people take in the fact that they have a story to tell about why so many people won't accept their religion. Postulating some inner corrupt disposition as an explanation for why every individual person either leaves or won't convert to your group is the biggest red flag of cult-like thinking that I can possibly imagine. And I think that's ridiculously and painfully obvious. What to say about Mike's great confidence in theism? I mean, I just think that for someone in his position to make jokes about not understanding more than 8% of a philosophical exchange between an atheist and a theist.
In fact, I listened to a debate between Graham Oppy and, was it Ed Fezer? It was on the ontological argument. I think it was Graham Oppy and Ed Fezer. In this debate, it was really interesting as you listen to it. Most of us would listen and be like, I only understood like 8% of that. And that's fine. I don't mind listening when I don't understand all of a thing. That's kind of how I learn. You just keep listening, even though you don't quite get it all.
To then sell a bill of certainty to 500,000 people on the status of that debate, to be incredibly irresponsible. But that's just me. Anywho, tap this video next to me to watch Joe's much more in-depth and nicer video than this. What are you waiting for? I don't really self-promote at the end of these things. I'm sending you to another channel.